You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, a little bit after 9. Where else would you rather be, Steelers fans, especially for this special episode that we've been talking about for several weeks, our annual mock draft episode. And with me as always, except when he's not, and usually when it's talking mock drafts, he would rather not. But it's Big Bro Scho. Rich, how's it going tonight?
Hey, let me just say this to those folks that are out there in the live chat, okay? I want to mock with you tonight.
Yeah, well, and Rich is right. Rich is really, no, well, I'm not going to explain this yet because I'm going to wait till we have more people here ready to go. One thing that is bothering me is, of course, it's been weeks since it happened, but for some reason we're not connecting on Facebook right now.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm getting the errors up top. I'm hoping. I think a lot of times they'll try to reconnect.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. I'm sorry for our Facebook crowd if you're catching this later, if it's on there or anything. It's not something that we're doing. It's basically what's going on there. But before we do that, let's get it into some news and some. We'll get into the technicalities of what we're going to be doing tonight. But the only real news is there's still no news that the Steelers at quarterback. There's a lot of people saying that the Steelers have to figure out stuff with Aaron Rodgers by. And I'll tell you the truth. Whether it's a fan, whether it's someone in the media, people that are saying that, you're all wrong because they don't have to do anything. So it's frustrating as fans. I get it. Trust me, I'm there. But the Steelers... we were told from our source that whether Aaron Rodgers was signed or wasn't signed wasn't going to change what the Steelers were doing in the draft at all. So there's no draft deadline going on there. So there's various different things with that. But the Steelers did add one player to their offseason roster. It was someone who was on their 53-man roster last year, and that was guard Max Sharping. He was inactive for a lot of games. He only actually appeared in 2. But he was interior offensive line depth. He's going to have to try to beat out other guys. And who knows, maybe the Steelers will add more. It's not an exciting move. I don't think it's someone that's guaranteed to be on the roster come September. So it's another move kind of like that, but at least someone who was familiar to the Steelers. I know some fans aren't going to like it because they're going to be like, oh, they're just bringing back all this. They're just rolling it back again, which I get can be frustrating. I'm not saying you're wrong if you feel that way, but it's really a no harm, no foul kind of signing. Rich, anything you want to say about it?
No, because it wasn't super exciting.
Exactly. So we're waiting for some people to join us in the live chat. I know sometimes it takes some time for people to get there. So I'm not exactly stalling. I'm just making sure that we're giving people ample time.
Well, we want lots of people here. You know why?
We need their help because I don't know what to do.
Nope. I want more people here because, party mocking in the house tonight. Oh,
how many different mock draft songs is Rich going to be able to bust out into tonight? Oh, yes. All right. Rich, when was the first year we did this? I'm thinking it was 2021. I don't know that we did it in 2020 when they didn't have the first round pick. Because that's when we first no, there was officially no Scho Bro Show until fall of 2020. It was Stat Geek and
Correct.
UK, and then you joined me for it, and it just took off from there. So that's why I think 2021 was our first one.
Yeah, and that was when so let's see. Was that the year?
I think we had the Steelers taking Najee Harris.
Yes, that was our first one.
Yes. I think 2022 we didn't get a right. I think we get about one. We average about one per year. We got one last year. Do you remember how it played out last year? I just want to give her a little bit of a review. Do you remember what we did?
No, I don't. Come on. Really?
We traded back 9 spaces and picked up an extra second round pick, a pick at the very end of the second round, pick number 61. There's only 64 in there. So we traded back to the 29th pick and took Cooper DeJean. But then when it turned around and picked 51, we got that one right. Because we were so excited that Zach Frazier was still there.
That's right. I do remember we did. That's right. I remember we took Frazier.
And I had run a lot of simulations ahead of that to see, would Frazier be there? Would he be there? And he usually wasn't, but in this case he was. Here's what's really funny. Do you know who we took with that extra pick, that pick number 61 last year?
No.
We took wide receiver Xavier Leggett, who went 32nd last year in the draft. So at the end of the second round, we got somebody who went in the first round. There was a bunch of different names there. Not even anyone that really is jumping off the chart that had like an amazing rookie season. We got the second round pick right last year. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Now, normally, let's go ahead and get into the rules of what we're doing here. We are running a mock draft simulator that you all will be making the picks for us. I mean, we'll try to narrow it down. I'm going to bring it up on the screen here, but you all might not be able to see it. So I'll do a lot of reading anyway, because for those of listening on the audio side, if people want to see something from a certain position, we'll do it. But we are just picking the Steelers. We're going the whole way through. I'm also telling you, we are not doing any trade up scenarios because we would have to pause the draft at the right spot, make a pick or make an offer, see if they accept it, things like that. We're not doing any trade ups. For the first round, we'll at least look at the trade down options.
Yes.
Now,
but just pretty much just the first round.
Because they don't have a second round pick.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, not having a second round. I was going to say, I thought we did the first 2 rounds, possibly trade back. Yes. But you're right, we don't have a second round pick.
Unless
we trade back.
Yes.
And then would trade back again or something. But
also, I'm not looking to do this if the only real capital that we're gaining is next year, because we're trying to run a mock draft simulator for this year. Now, here's a couple disclaimers as we go to do this. Well, first of all, based on time, we're probably not going to do a 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk unless we finish this up early. And that kind of depends more on you all. We will have our big question at the end. So, and I'm also trying to see if we could connect to Facebook, but it still doesn't
not working. It'll probably go about halfway through the show. That's what it's been doing the last time we had this issue.
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring up where I have the simulator ready to go. Is it showing here? Because it took me off the screen.
No,
it is not. Okay.
No.
Well,
wait, there it comes.
There it is. Okay, there it is. Okay. So as you can see, it's not overly easy to read. There's sometimes you get some ads that I wish I could minimize that I can't. But I'm going to have this here for everyone, and we are using the ProFootballNetwork.com mock draft simulator. It's the best one. Full disclaimer, in years past, I've run a bunch of these just to know who's there. Not this year. I did one only into the Steelers' third round pick and didn't even make the pick and stopped it. And that was a few days ago. And I never ran one.
If that's the case, I'll just have to quote Def Leppard on this one.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the mock of ages.
The mock of ages. Here we go. Because now this is good for Rich, because all he can do is bring mock draft songs to the table. Because Rich, how much have you looked at any kind of mock drafts this year?
Zero.
Nothing. So this is Rich's
Most years I have done at least a little bit. This year I have done zero.
Okay. So the cool thing is with that is Rich is going to be in charge of trying to monitor and keep up with the live chat. And therefore, he's not going to be bringing any kind of much bias into it with what they're saying, because he's not looking for stuff for himself, except for maybe if the Steelers are going to try to take people that'll suggest they take a punter in the first round or something like that. So
yes, because see, unlike I think I saw Andrew Wilbar in the chat earlier.
Oh, I hope Andrew's here to help.
Unlike Andrew Wilbar, I don't mock around the clock.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry.
How many of these do you have written down ready to go? I'm just curious. Here's funny because we got to bring this up.
Written down, not really, but
okay. Dennis Pavlak has tonight's mock draft is sponsored by. I won't say the word because I don't want to be. I'm not giving.
Yeah, we can't sponsor. We can actually sponsor,
by his favorite adult beverage company. We'll just say that.
There you
go. So Dennis, I don't know what word I'm going to say a bunch, but if you know based on last year, then get ready for it, and we'll see how you're doing at the end of the night. Rich, you ready to start this? I have this set on fast because, my goodness, I don't want to have to wait forever from the Steelers' first pick to their third round pick. So we're not going to be able to probably read them all as they go. But here we go. It's starting. So I think, and we're off. All right. So we got some trades coming, but I don't necessarily want to look at them until we know everything that's going on. I hit hide because I should be able to bring that up, but I'm going to go ahead and read all the picks that were made up to this date, up to this point, and I'm going to go as fast as I can. Number 1 was Ward, 2 was Hunter, 3 was Abdul Carter, 4 was Will Campbell, 5 was Will Johnson, 6 was Ashton Genty, 7 was Mason Graham, 8 was Armand Membo, 9 was Tet McMillan, which is funny. In our FFSN mock draft, I will tell you, he was available for the Steelers when it was time to pick. Okay. 10 was Shamar Stewart, 11, Jalen Walker, 12, Tyler Warren, 13, Kevin Banks Jr., 14, Colston Loveland, 15, Derek Harmon. Kind of surprised at that one, that he went that so high, because I thought maybe that would be someone for the Steelers. Okay. 16 was Matthew Golden, 17 was Nick Emanwari, that's another one I thought that could have been a possibility for the Steelers. 18, it was actually a trade. Mike Green went to Washington. 19 was the Giants trading up to take Shadur Sanders. So that's how this draft played out. Shadur Sanders went 19 by a team trading up ahead of the Steelers to take him. Now, whether or not the Steelers would have taken him or not, I don't know. And then number 20 was Malachi Starks. So before we look at the trades, I will tell you the top 5 ranked the top 5 ranked here from them, just to get an idea, is Mikael Williams. I think it's Mikael. Edge from Georgia. Jahdae Barron, cornerback, Texas. Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama. Jihad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State. I will say that the next one is Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Another popular one that I might look at, Jackson Dart is sitting down there at 31. I'm not saying he's the popular one. I'm just talking about ones tied to the Steelers. Emeka Egbuka, I screwed that name up big time, from Ohio State is still there. Marion Hampton from North Carolina, the running back is there. Luther Burden. And I'm going to scroll down here because they have him ranked much lower than most places. Is you have defensive tackle Kenneth Grant from Michigan, who's still there. Now let's look at the trade offers. Here you go. First one we have from the Dallas Cowboys. They want pick 21. The Steelers would have to go all the way back to pick 44. They would get pick 76, and then they would get a second and a third and a 7th next year. All right? So you'd go back 23 spots to pick up 76. What's that? That's another early third rounder. And then a bunch of stuff next year. The Steelers were asked for pick 21 and 156 for pick 28 and 60.
That's not so bad.
That gets them back in the second round. 156. What's that? That's their 5th?
I don't know. I
Someone
don't feel like doing
tell us
math
if
on
that's
the
there,
fly.
what that is, right? That one's interesting. And then the Steelers to give up their first round pick to go all the way back to 37. That's all the way out of the first round.
Okay.
68 and a third rounder next year. That was with the Raiders. So I haven't been on there for a while. I am now going to flip back to see, do we want to take the deal or do we want to look at some other players? This one's going to take the longest, I'll tell you.
Yeah, this is going to take the longest. I will say this. Okay, that potential from Dallas long term would be an extremely tempting trade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you think you're trading back some, and you're giving up a little bit this year. Going back into the second round and then picking up that early third rounder.
Yeah.
But you look at those picks that the Steelers are getting next year, taking along with the
second,
Steelers'
another
own
third,
picks. Their Steelers' own picks next year, plus what potentially they're looking at getting
Plus
the top
3
pick
more,
next
yeah.
year's.
Yeah.
That
So
would
you
be
had
then.
those 3 picks to potentially 4 comp picks, and there are 7 picks that they have. You're talking
To
14
potentially-
picks next year.
Which would be nice to have some stuff to potentially package up and move up next year if you wanted to look quarterback next year.
But do you want to go all the way back to 44? Because what you'd basically be doing is, instead of having a first and a third, you're going to have a second and 2/3.
Right.
And a lot of cool stuff for next year.
Right.
Now the one with the Lions is intriguing. You don't gain any picks. You go back 7 spots, but then you would have a second round pick. You just wouldn't have one in the. Did we figure out what round that's in?
No, I didn't look.
Okay, I'm gonna hide this again and see. That's 1, 3, 4. That would be their 5th. Yep,
Okay.
that would be their 5th round pick. So sorry. All right. So what are we getting from the live chat, bro?
I'm seeing a lot of people liking the Lions deal.
Okay.
And some people that are like, I would be okay with Dallas too, but I think the folks that are okay with the Dallas one are thinking more like me, as if you're looking longer term. But as we said, we're kind of just doing this for tonight. So to me, in terms of this particular draft, if you're going to take one, I think the Lions one is the one you take. Or I want to know from folks out there in the live chat, would you take that Lions offer, or do we pick? Or do we make a pick? To
I'm
me,
okay either way.
That's what I think we're down to. Do we take the
I
Lions?
think you're right. I think John S. said it pretty good. He said, I would be okay with Dallas too, but for tonight, I like the Lions. Meaning, if they worked out that deal in real life, that they're not doing a mock draft. Those ads on that page are really distracting. Sorry. Let's see if I can close that out. There we go. Yeah, I just don't know that that's the best for tonight to not even pick until 44. So we get some people saying make the pick, others saying take the Lions deal.
Right now, I'm only seeing. Actually, right now, in terms of when I really narrowed it down to those 2, really only one person has come out and said take the pick.
Yeah. So Rick asked, he said, wait, didn't he just say the Lions don't get you any actual extra picks? No, what you do is you move back in the first round and you're trading a 5th for a 2nd is what it is. So you're not getting an extra player. You're just getting a 2nd round pick and no longer have a 5th round pick.
Right now, I'm seeing about 2-1 saying make the trade.
Yeah. So because there's where it is. It's a first and a 5th for a 1st and a 2nd. So what are we doing, Rich?
If I'm going with the live chat, I'm saying we're making that. I think we're making the deal.
Yeah, there's no one here I'm in love with right now. There's no one at this point that's why I read the names first.
I know, because I think any of the guys, a couple of those guys the Steelers would maybe want would still be there going back in the first, and then you pick up a 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say let's do that.
here you go. Like I said, we traded back last year. I don't know that there'll actually be a trade partner to trade back for real when this happens for the Steelers on draft night. So, but it is fun to look at now. I did try to leave the trade up there for those who are looking, if you can see it. So it's 21 and 156 for 28 and 60. So you're going back 7 and up almost 100 picks later on. Let's go ahead and take that trade, Rich.
Yeah, take the trade.
Okay, we are going to accept it. So there we go. Now, I'm not going to look at these other trades to trade back again. Oh, this is going to be interesting because who's still there? Cornerback Jahdae Barron, still there. That's one that KT Smith would say would be nice for the Steelers at 21. Defensive tackle Walter Nolan, still there out of Ole Miss. Wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, still there. Quarterback Jackson Dart, still there. Running back Omarion Hampton, still there. Wide receiver Luther Burden from Missouri, still there. Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State. Okay. My guy that I love, Kenneth Grant, is still there. Jalen Milroe, still there.
All right. So hold on.
So,
okay.
Wondering, the players that actually went were Detroit traded up for Michael Williams. Then it went Booker, Nick Scorton, Jihad Campbell, Josh Simmons, Gray Zabel, and James Pierce Jr. were the picks that all just went. So, do we want to look at the trade offers?
No.
Sure.
Because I don't think because I don't know that they trade. Realistically, would you trade back twice? Probably not.
No, but I just can't believe who all's still there.
I know.
They have a lot. I mean, they could trade back 5 picks and still get a
true. If you got a trade, if you got an offer like that, you can consider it.
So far, San Francisco back to 43, only stuff next year. One was a second though. Atlanta back to 46, a second and a third and a fourth next year. Man, who's giving up all that stuff? But there's nothing for this year, so we're done. We're not going to do these.
Yep. Nope. Not doing
Okay. So now we've got to figure out who we're going to draft. What's the live chat saying? Because I'm not there.
Right now, I'm not getting a whole. Let's see. Someone said they want Nolan. Someone said Kathy said glad we traded. Like Grant, maybe he'll last a little longer.
Went in the teens in our FFSN mock.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So
John S says Barron or Grant. Someone's saying Hampton. Grant or Hampton.
Mm-hmm. Here's my thing when it comes to, there's nothing wrong with the player when it comes to Omarion Hampton. My issue is the Steelers just didn't pick up the 5th-year option on a first-round running back. Are you going to replace him with another first-round running back? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm probably not.
Well, my biggest thing is because this draft is so deep at running back, and now you have a second-round pick. Remember this, everybody. The Steelers now have a second-round pick. So there's other options you could do. It's also, some people are like, well, how deep is it at defensive tackle? Let's say, for example, you take someone like a Walter Nolan, who isn't like a nose tackle type. You might be able to pick up a big nose tackle at the end. But if you want a big defensive lineman for the stuff to run, you've got Kenneth Grant right now, which I'm surprised they have him ranked 38th because I've seen other places that had him as the better defensive lineman from Michigan. And that's talking about, why can't I remember his name? That went Mason Graham, that went 7th overall. That some people say that Grant's actually better than him, but that it's all kinds of stuff. I'm fine with whatever the live chat picks. Like I said, do you want to go? You got the top corner, you got defensive tackle options, you got running back options, you got wide receiver options, multiple options there. You know, you've got the running back if that's the running back you want.
I think it's still not a huge consensus, but I think people are leaning towards Grant.
Okay. I love Grant. I just don't want me to bias that. Okay. And see, like Revolting Blade says, Nolan will go top 15. That would not shock me one bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Nolan or Grant or or even Barron.
Yeah.
I'm probably leaning towards the defensive tackle because I really feel that's the direction the Steelers.
John S. asked if Harmon was still there. Harmon was gone before the Steelers picked at 21. Because honestly, if he was there, I'd have taken him at 21 and not traded.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Okay? Because, see here you go, like Brent Howell saying, let's wait on a running back. If you're going to wait on a running back, this is the draft to do it. Okay? So this is, I'm already feeling this is not falling in a realistic way because there's way more. I mean, if these were the Steelers' options at 21, I would be ecstatic. And right now, that's their options at 28. Okay, so
let's go with Grant.
We're gonna go with. Okay, some people might even think that's a reach here, but I don't. I think he's too low. All right, so we're gonna go with our first pick, defensive tackle. Okay, in case you're wondering, if you want some notes on him, 6'3", 331. Okay.
Somebody had brought up earlier in the live
the
chat that some people are saying he's Ziggy Hood 2.0.
Grant?
Yeah.
No, I would say Nolan is one that's not necessarily the right scheme fit for the Steelers, not Grant. Because Grant could just plug in at nose. Honestly. And he could play at nose and take the Keanu Benton route.
The Keanu Benton, or you can even say, because he did this some back in the day, he was even Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward in certain situations would slide nose.
Javon Hargrave.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So we going with Grant?
Yes.
Drafted. There's Grant. So there he goes. We don't have to wait nearly as long now. Because the Steelers, here we go. They're getting offers, but let's see who's out there first. Okay. I think I know what we might be doing here, Rich. The Steelers traded back, now have a second round pick instead of a fifth rounder. And there sits Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. That's funny. Okay. That's funny. You've got now there was two different running backs from Ohio State. This is Judkins. I think the other one was ranked higher, but I'm not sure. He's there. You've got offensive tackle from Purdue, Mbo. Okay, you've got the edge from UCLA that I'm not even going to try to say his name. Okay, you got TJ Sanders from South Carolina. I don't think they're going to go line. I'll be honest with you. I was not big on the Steelers taking a quarterback before round 3, but you got Jack Beach down here, a wide receiver. Okay, but that was with the Steelers not having a second round pick. I mean, if you really look at, let's say, the quarterbacks, or would you rather not take Dart? To me, I would say if you take a chance on one here, I'd be more apt for Milroe. Dart was like the question in January was he a third or fourth rounder? And now all of a sudden they're talking about him in the first round just because he's filling the vacuum of there not being quarterbacks. But you still got Schuck, you still got Will Howard, you still got Hughes, you still got Dylan Gabriel. You've got other options if you want to grab a quarterback later if you don't want to do it now. But you would have your choice of either one of them as your second pick. Any positions or anything in particular people in the live chat would like to see? Or did we want to look at the trades? Because it is second round.
You can look at the trades.
Okay. You'd give up 60 and 185 for 67 and 104. You're going back 7 and moving up 81. Plus it's with the Browns. It's the only one that you have. You wouldn't gain another pick. To me, if you're going to trade back now, I would want to gain back a pick because I like to try to gain back the fifth rounder that you don't have now.
Right.
That's the only one that's offered here. So you tell me what everybody's thinking.
That is all over the place.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. So yeah. So
A lot of people saying they don't like either quarterback and would like
that's
some
fine. You
folks
could
saying that and would
honestly,
say,
if I'd almost rather pick up like Will Howard later on. But what else do you want at this point right now? Okay.
yeah. So, a couple people said Dart, Judkins.
Judkins. Okay.
Someone said, please not Milrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm seeing
I'm worried about
Higgins
them taking Milrow
or
at 21.
Collins.
Taking him at 60 would be a different thing. Just so you
Someone
know,
else for
here are the running
Judkins.
backs that are left. Judkins, then you got DJ Giddens, you've got Scatabo. He's still there, but he's ranked further down. You could probably get him with your next one or even the one after. Then you're getting into the 100s from there. But RJ Harvey, who they liked, he's much further down. These are people not to take now that would be available later. To me, the only one, if you want Judkins, you'd have to take him now. Almost anybody else would be available at the next pick. Most likely. I'd almost rather have Scatabo rather than Judkins. So that's why part of me wouldn't mind waiting. But then I'm also not sure what to do here. Okay. I don't think they go offensive tackle again in the second round. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now somebody said, but see, I don't know enough to know. Sebastian said TJ Sanders at this stage would be a massive steal. Where is TJ Sanders?
He's a defensive tackle from South Carolina.
I know.
So do you go D tackle?
I just don't see the Steelers doing that. If we went D tackle round 1, I don't see us doing it again in round 2.
I already don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. I really don't. Is Andrew still there? Is he telling us what to do?
No, Andrew said something very early in the show, and I haven't seen anything from since. So
yeah,
that's because he was like,
I haven't been looking for players around this area because the Steelers don't have a pick around this area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really am not sure. Is there any other positions that people say they'd like to see?
Well, I'm going to bring Sebastian back up. He said, like last year they double dipped O-line. Yeah, but there's 5 positions on the O-line, and the Steelers really needed, still really rebuilding that. When you're talking about the way Steelers play defensive line, you're talking if they're, more, the Steelers are more often than not in 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebacker sets. Once in a while, it's 3 defensive linemen. So, I mean, just the numbers don't.
So I went in, checked the live chat, and somebody brought up someone, and that's a good point. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, wide receiver. That's not a bad choice either. Especially if let's say you go with Pickens this year, but you don't bring him back after this year. I know there's 2 wide receivers from Iowa State, and I don't remember which one is which. I'm going to bring up the wide receivers because it's Higgins, Jack. Is it Beck, or I think it's Beck from TCU. Eric, I can't even say. Ayamana. I don't know. Wide receiver from Stanford.
Ayo Manor. There you go. Say it that way.
There you go. So thinking wide receiver here, especially if you think you might go running back in the next round, that could be interesting too. I'm just throwing up guard here just for fun. There's Fairchild out of Georgia, but that's too early. Just curious. Quarterback. There we go. Let's get back to all. Okay. So what are we doing? We got to make a call. Someone said, how about corner? I'll check corner real quick.
I was going to say, check corner real quick.
Check corner. I don't know if the Steelers have to go corner this year, but if they did, it would be. There's Darian Porter from Iowa State, Denzel Burke from Ohio State, and then you're down to 95, which is someone that should be
nobody I'm particularly.
Kobe Bryant's way down there for those that thought maybe him, but he's in the hundreds. So that would surprise me if he was gone by the next pick or 2. Yeah.
Starting to see more
Higgins.
Yeah.
Let's see, where is he? I'm starting to think that might not be a bad idea. What do you think? Here's what we're going to do.
But I'm not
we're
sure
going to give everybody about 20 seconds to put their thoughts in there. If you have any other thoughts, why we take our break, and when we come back, we will announce what this pick's going to be. So if you're with us here on the audio side, if you're with us here live, don't go anywhere. We're not going anywhere. If you're with us on the other side, stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry. Relax.
All right. You've got to relax. Don't worry. Okay. To me, based on this draft, I'm going to say that I think the bigger value pick here would be the wide receiver.
Yeah, and he's starting to get he's started to get the most votes here in
I know some people were saying Judkins is a running back, but I think you can do all right at running back a little bit later. Ready?
Yep.
So are we going to go with
Sure.
Are we going to go with Higgins?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Done. Moving on. We got to move on. All right, here we go. The Steelers are back up at pick 83. And let's see, before we see any things, did I just see Will Howard went at 80? So the quarterbacks really started to go, which was interesting. I thought he would be available in round 4, and he didn't even make it round 3. So if you want a quarterback right now, your options are Tyler Shuck, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel. Okay? If that's what you really wanted in this draft. If you're looking at overall, oh my goodness, TJ Sanders is still there.
Still there.
Okay. Alfred Collins it's like they knew this. If you take a D tackle with your first pick, we just won't take any of the rest of the draft. Okay. So what are no joke, the first 3 things, the top 3 ranked by Pro Football Network is TJ Sanders, defensive tackle, South Carolina, Alfred Collins, defensive tackle, Texas, and Jack. I don't know if it's Beck or not. It's okay. I should know, but I don't. From where he did well in the Senior Bowl, wide receiver TCU at number, he's the 3rd one. I think that's hilarious. That's what's left. Okay. I'm going to right now. Let's look at running back.
I was going to say, let's look at running back.
Scattaboo's the number 1 there.
Who? What? Hey,
Cameron Scatabo. I keep saying Boo. It's Scatabo from Arizona State. I know a lot of Steelers fans are high on him. What else? I already looked at quarterback, and I looked at running back. Let's look at cornerback, right? Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech, Zaya Alexander from LSU, and then Kobe Bryant, cornerback, Kansas. And Jordan Hancock from Ohio State. So that's what we're looking at various positions. What are we looking at here? Okay.
I don't know.
Wait, hold on. What was this where people were saying Giddens? Who was that? I missed that. I don't even know.
John said that, and then he came later and said,
I don't know what position. I don't even know what all the positions are at this point. So,
let's see. We got somebody that twice has put in saying Sanders or Collins, and he's saying fix the line, be done with it.
Oh, is that offensive tackle or?
No, I think it's defense. Was that on the defensive?
The ones that are there. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm still looking. Like guards are still there, like Dylan Fairchild or whatnot. I mean, yeah. Just out of curiosity, how big are these dudes? 297, 6'3", 297 is Sanders. Collins is 6'5", 332. That's a big dude. Yeah. So, but honestly, you want to know the truth? I've been talking about, I love how the Steelers invest in the offensive line the last 2 drafts. The problem is and the reason they did is because they had to, because they didn't invest in it for so long. The problem is you're at a year right now where you have so many young guys. You've got to, you're not wanting to plug more in because you've got to see what's going on with these guys. And if they don't work, then you're kind of in trouble. That's the problem with having so many at once. That would be the thing with taking another defensive tackle high, is then you're like, then you really got to get in hyper focus mode with evaluating them. And I still also think it's going to be important to see how Keanu Benton does if he's not playing nose tackle this year. So that's one of the biggest things out there.
Go back to the running backs again real quick.
Yeah. Scatabo, Tutton from Virginia Tech, and Martinez from Florida.
Scatabo has been getting some talk out here because if you're thinking we're going to round 3 and maybe going with a running back there's enough folks that are saying, look, we should be looking at running back anyway, and the folks that are actually mentioning somebody are going with Scatabo.
Okay. I would be fine with that.
I'm starting to lean that way. Go running back, 3rd round. That's, for me, if you're going running back, that's probably about the earliest I'd take one in this draft.
Yeah.
Doing that after picking up the extra pick in the 2nd round in this particular draft,
yeah,
I'd feel extra good about going ahead and going running back here.
Yep. We going to do it?
Yep, let's do it.
Scatabo? Okay. Drafted. I didn't look at the live chat at all. I was just
I was monitoring and trying to just, again, we kind of get all over the place here or there, but I try to just gauge enough going through.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, and we're not even getting trades or anything at this point. Here's what's funny. Top guy, Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State. He's a guy that the Steelers don't get a defensive tackle early. I could see them taking later. Okay. Tutton, the running back, defensive tackle. Okay. Then you've got linebacker. You've got Ollie Gordon. You've got Jordan Phillips from Maryland, defensive tackle. Very interesting who's left. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm just to do it. I'm going to click on quarterbacks.
That's okay.
If you want a quarterback, here's what's interesting. Tony Dungy, within the last week and a half,
I saw this,
threw out Dylan Gabriel as a potential 1st round pick for the Steelers. I think that's a little bit crazy. But if people wanted him here, because remember, there's no 5th round pick now. We're going straight to 6 and 7 after this.
Yep.
So there you go, because you've got Gabriel, you got Riley Leonard, you got Kyle McCord, or you could just say we'll take whoever's left at the end. If you want to look defense, if you want to look corner, you've got Quincy Riley from Louisville. You've got Tommy Hill from Nebraska. You've got Noel Williams from Cal. You've got Zach. You can get another Zach Frazier in there. But like I say, if they don't go corner in this draft, I'm not going to be surprised. If you're curious about safeties, there's RJ Mickens from Clemson, Sebastian Castro from Iowa. We're getting into a realm where I don't know people. So
Dave,
that's why the live chat's coming.
Okay. Yeah, live chat, most of the talk has been around McCord or Farmer.
So Farmer, the defensive tackle, to just go ahead and get another one, or take Kyle McCord, quarterback out of Syracuse.
Yep, and let's see. Farmer is starting to pop more into the lead on this.
That would be a good value pick.
Actually, right now I'm saying, and a lot of people are saying it'd be kind of crazy to pass on him at this point. They're leaning Farmer.
If that's what they want, that's what I'll do.
Although a couple people have said, and I can't argue this, that they wouldn't go that double dip that position, and that they'd say this would be the time to go quarterback and take McCord.
Mm-hmm. If not, we're going to end up taking like a 7th round quarterback of just who's ever there. Honestly, I don't know that the Steelers would have passed on the quarterback in round 2. I really don't.
I don't know that they would have either.
Yeah, but
so do you go with a quarterback? So do we go with a quarterback
feel like we
here?
Have to. If people want Farmer, we'll go Farmer. You're the one telling me what the majority's saying, because like I said, I'm not even looking at the live chat right now.
I know.
I haven't left the simulator page.
I'll tell you, it's close.
Okay.
It's Yeah. It's
Honestly, this was the pick I wanted Will Howard. I was surprised he wasn't there. He wasn't there for the third round pick.
right. Now I get things like I
I
understand.
don't think the quarterbacks are going to go like that.
Right.
But I mean,
I understand some of the arguments people make here too, because that's the other thing I'm trying to take into account here. Because you get this, take Farmer, go get your quarterback next year. I get that, and that might be would be what the Steelers do, but it might not be. So,
but they might be wanting the backup to next year's quarterback drafted this year. I don't know what they're thinking. I could see them. They're going to get, even if they don't draft one, they're going to add another quarterback, even if it's undrafted free agents.
Right.
And,
like I get this. I would have loved Howard here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I get that.
Yep. So what are we doing? Got to make a pick.
Go with Farmer.
Going with Farmer.
Yep.
All right.
Go with
Here we
Farmer.
go. Double dipped. Here we go. Next up, we're into round 5, which we don't have a pick, so we got to wait for forever. The Steelers are up. You have the number 1 player on the board is quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Okay. McCord is gone. Honestly, if you're looking for value, I think that's the pick.
What, the quarterback?
The quarterback from Oregon.
Well, this would be the
look
thing.
at other things.
Yes, let's look at some other things. But this would be the thought here. If Tony Dungy's kind of starting to talk and say, hey, this guy kind of moving up, and you're like, hey, we are going to take a shot on a guy deeper in the draft, if that's the Steelers, if that's the thought, then you make that move.
Yep. We got a couple guards available, but no one that's really overwhelming value. I mean, some other value is defensive tackle, running back, center, but my goodness, the Steelers don't need a center.
Nope.
Okay, they have an offensive tackle that is ranked number 185 for out of Rutgers, Holland Pierce, but I don't know if they needed to go that. What's the live chat saying?
Let's see.
I mean, I think it makes sense.
Get a lot of folks saying Gabriel. Somebody saying, "Hey, take a peek at corner." I think that's to say Trevor Etienne, but a lot of folks are saying Gabriel. Gabriel's getting a lot of talk.
Honestly, I thought he had a chance last pick. Okay. Oh, and someone asked about the quarterback from Missouri, because I did click over and see the live chat for a second this time. That was Brady Cook, but he's probably not even going to get drafted.
Did we look at the cornerback situation?
We could look just to see if there's anyone that jumps out.
Yes.
They're all ranked lower than what they are.
Okay. then
Muhammad
forget-
from Oregon,
Yep.
Stout from Western Kentucky.
Yep. Forget that.
We going Gabriel?
Sure.
That's what we're doing. All right, one more pick. We is almost done, folks. Let's see how we go. All right, so guess what they have a bunch of for the beginning? Defensive tackles, okay? They got defensive tackles from South Carolina, Hemingway. To me, what do we generally look for? What position are we still looking for the Steelers to take in this draft? Let's look at guard. All of them are ranked 300 or more.
Yep.
So to me, you're talking about undrafted free agents.
Yep.
Tackle. Although bringing back Calvin Anderson makes me think that they're not worried about having to add one. There's one here from Indiana, Trey Wedig, that would be a quote unquote value pick based on where they have him ranked. I don't know much about people here. Tight end, There's Jalen Conyers out of Texas Tech. I don't know if they need another tight end.
I don't think
If they
so.
want another wide receiver, the top ones are Jimmy Horn Jr. out of Colorado. But that's not, none of them are really value picks. Most of the higher ones are gone. I don't think they would double dip at running back, but Trevor Etienne out of Georgia is there. Okay, if someone wanted that, if they just think it's value. If they double dipped at quarterback, Max Brosmer from Minnesota and Brady Cook from Missouri are the top ones, or Cam Miller from North Dakota State. Defense, did I already look at corner? Corner, there's not a lot of that, but there's I guess it's Jeremy Harris, cornerback, Iowa. Nothing. Jason Marshall from Florida. Safety, Maxon Hook out of Toledo. Dante Trader from Maryland. Those would be somewhat valuable. Linebacker, Kobe King, Penn State. Colin Oliver from Oklahoma State. Edge, Elijah Williams from Morgan State. But none of these seem to be value guys. The best value guys are some D tackles, but my goodness, we've already taken 2. I don't see us taking 3.
So
what do people want?
It's a little bit all over. Like, I'm not seeing a lot of talk where even multiple people are coming up, or somebody's coming up multiple times. Let's think about this for just a minute. About what the Steelers tend to do with 7th round picks.
Yes.
Okay. What they'll do, they look at a 7th round pick. I don't think they always even look at team need. They sometimes will look and say, hey, this is a guy we'd like to have that we don't want to risk
not being able to sign
him as an undrafted free agent.
So remember, last year they didn't have a 7th round pick. The year before they had 2, and that's when they got Corey Trice and Spencer Anderson. The year before that they had 2, that's when they got Mark Robinson and Chris Oladokin. The year before that they had 2, and Trey Norwood and Presley Harvin. And then the year before that they had 1 in Carlos Davis. Just to let you know what the Steelers have done in the 7th round recently. So,
all right, so I'm starting to see stuff popping up. A couple guys have started popping up a couple times. That is Jimmy Horn and Kobe King.
Okay. Who was Jimmy Horn?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver from Colorado. Okay. Yeah. Kobe King would be a value pick. Okay.
Linebacker, Penn State. Click on his little clipboard thingy. Let me see
Sure.
what we got to say here.
6'0", 236.
236.
Average tackler, career missed tackle rate, pretty gives big plays and doesn't have a knack for creating turnovers or pass breakups.
Yeah, for me then the only thing that would probably be going for him is that he's a Penn State guy.
Yeah. Physical run defender. He's not a receiver. I mean, would he basically be Mark Robinson 2.0? Not that would be a bad thing.
George, OTJ brings up a decent point.
What?
With Horn, you would also potentially use on special teams. He's a wide receiver, but also could be a special teamer, which that's another thing sometimes you see that the Steelers will do with those later picks is take those guys.
I lost him. Where was he?
Wide receiver.
Oh, there he is, Jimmy Horn. Underside receiver, slot. My thing is if they already took a wide receiver in this draft.
Yep.
You've still got Pickens and Metcalf. Then you're talking about,
and you've got Calvin Austin.
You got Calvin Austin.
Roman Wilson,
and then you've got the special teams guru in Skoranek.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It probably wouldn't make so much sense here.
It would be tough to double dip at wide receiver to have room for him to actually make the team. But it's not the end of the world. But right now, I mean, you could take a shot on what's the safety from Toledo? Okay. Okay. Lots of tackles and stuff as a safety out of Toledo. You know what I mean? Um, if there's a place for somebody there. To me, it doesn't matter. Whatever the live chat thinks, we just need to make a pick because we've got to get her going. Yep. That's why Steeler Chick, she just said, I clicked back over, she said safety. That's why I just mentioned that. Like Afton said, I don't know the guys this far down.
Yeah. A lot of people don't.
Crenshaw. I don't know who these people are to look them up.
I would say tell us. Yeah, got to tell us a position too.
Yeah, tell us a position.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Rick, if you're out there listening, put the position down for that guy.
Yeah. Like I said, they could take two quarterbacks because they only have two. I'll be honest with you. Part of me what's this offensive tackle?
This has come up a couple times.
He's both tackle. He has experience in both tackle and guard.
Woodson, safety from Cal.
Why did that just come up there? I just had something pop up. Okay, hold on. Let's go to safety. But we've got to we've got Hook from Toledo, Trader from Maryland, Woodson from Cal. I've heard of him.
Yes.
I'd do it.
Like what I'm reading on it there, especially because you're talking this would be a developmental safety.
And I mean, they haven't taken anybody in the secondary in this draft.
Go with this. Go with him.
Go with him?
Guy from Cal. Yep.
All right, so we'll do that. Craig Woodson from Cal. There we go. And the draft will run out. I just need to be able to screenshot what we have here. But for those of you that see it, just to recap it real quick, traded back 28, took Kenneth Grant, picked up pick number 60, and took wide receiver Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. At 83, took Cameron Scatabo from Arizona State, running back. 123 took Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State. Did not have a fifth-round pick because we swapped it for the second. 185 got Dylan Gabriel, quarterback, Oregon, and 229 safety Craig Woodson from Cal. All right, here's the big question. I'm going to ask Rich. I'm going to answer it. Then we got to go because we've almost hit an hour. All right, I'm going to leave that up there so people can look. What we ask every year, Rich, what was your favorite? You usually say what was your favorite pick. I'm going to say what was your favorite selection because if you choose the trade down, don't say trade down for. That's an option. You could say, I'm just happy that they traded down. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what they got.
And
if not,
actually,
that was your favorite pick. And don't put yours in there in the live chat yet. Remember, you got to wait for me to put it out there.
So I'm allowed to give the trade back because given what was on the board, the trade back to me was the biggest thing in this draft for us because we traded back, still had guys there that the Steelers would have considered at 21. You trade back the 7 spots. You give up a 5th rounder, but gain the 2nd rounder, so that gives you better value in this draft overall. So to me, that was the thing that if that played out and the Steelers pulled a move like that, and to me, it wouldn't even had to been a 2nd. Let's say you trade back 7 spots, and that would have even been, and you'd have picked up a 3rd even, and say you had 2 picks in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
That would have been, something like that.
Higher than where they were already picking in the 3rd. Yeah.
Yes. If something like that were to happen, I'd be okay with it.
All right. So, see, this is what's bummer. We connected to one Facebook account, but not the other Facebook account. It was the wrong one. It wasn't the Steel Curtain Network Facebook account. That's bummer. Oh, well. Me, my favorite move, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there in the live chat for you all to answer. Mine is having Kenneth Grant as your first pick, regardless of what number pick it was. I like that move. He's one of several players I really like for the Steelers to take, most of which are defensive tackles. We'll be talking more about that next week as we do our final show before the draft, as we look at those kind of things. But to me, that's what I'll take there. You know what the favorite move could be? Here, I almost was tempted to say this. not taking a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Okay. Although I think the Steelers, I wouldn't have been shocked if the Steelers would have made that if they had that. If they had pick 60 and had those options, they might have done that. So here we go. What favorite move for everybody so far? What we have here is Afton. She says for Grant. Kathy also says for Kenneth Grant. That was there. We'll just say
I would say you could go with that.
Squirt. We'll just say that. He
Squirt
says
McGirt.
1, 2, 4 are home runs. Okay. Steel Dog 88 says Grant. Steeler Chick 46. Kind of what I'm saying. No QB or RB in the first round. That was their favorite.
Yeah.
Move. I like that. Yes.
And that's
honestly,
all right.
I like that one a lot. Okay. Richard Adamson said Farmer. Still going with the value defensive tackle in the 4th round, even though you already had one. Yep. BF Bud says Grant. Brent Howell says Grant. We debated who to take there. All these people are really liking that. George OTJ says to trade back in order to get Higgins by getting that pick.
Yeah.
Okay. Dennis Pavlak likes the Higgins pick. Jamie Carlo says the trade. So
yeah,
Rich,
that's why I liked that trade. I really see something like that. Although, like I said, instead of being a second, it could be a third. I thought the second was pretty generous right there.
Yeah.
You could potentially get that from
but
a
you
team
didn't
if there's
gain it.
somebody
You
that
just
really
swapped
want.
it.
That's true.
why you got a second. That's why you got a second. So yeah.
Yes. So I was okay with this, and I saw a couple folks comment like early on. It's like, hey, this wouldn't be a bad draft. It might not be the same type of the last 2 we've seen from Omar Khan, but I think it would still be pretty solid.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, maybe I'm starting to sit here and look at this and start to think of these things, WWOD, what would Omar do? It's like.
Well, bottom line is I don't necessarily see the draft falling in the first 20 picks the way that it did.
I don't either. So it won't be anything like it won't be anything like this. I can still see the Steelers with that pick in that area. But it might not be because there might be something better out there.
Yeah, I got to bring up one more because I thought we might get this a little bit more. Maybe this has changed some, but I know this was a big one with Steelers Nation right after the college football season. But Gavin Anthony says getting Scatterbo, if I say his name right. There was a lot of Steelers fans that really liked him early on in this process. So, yeah, I'm going to say, so now look at that. And just so you know, don't fall in love with anybody here because chances are only one name on this, at most one name on this list is going to end up with the Steelers.
Yep.
Just the way it goes. I will tell you this, what I think the trade back scenario we did there, although that Dallas move to load up for next year would have been crazy.
Would have been crazy. But
just didn't fit what we were trying to do tonight. So I found that really interesting. So that's one thing. Another thing is there were a bunch of picks at 21 that I would have been fine with that the Steelers had available. But nobody that I was overly excited about that, wow, they're here.
That you were like, oh, don't even think about trading back. You have to run your card up and make that pick right now.
And I think in a week and 2 days, that's probably a more likely scenario than what it played out with us tonight. Maybe it does play out like it did with us tonight, where you have a bunch of options, and so many of them were still available that many picks later. Yeah. That's what's crazy, that they still had all those options. The Steelers still had crazy options at 28 that I couldn't believe they had that many options at 21 of, if it falls this way. Like, honestly, if they took Barron, the cornerback, at 21, I'm all right with that.
Yep.
There were a couple players I thought were that I thought would be there, like a Derek Harmon, like I can't say his name right, like the safety from South Carolina, that potentially could be there for the, maybe be on the Steelers' radar. That they weren't there. So some of that is like you're kind of glad that they weren't. All the quarterbacks there, and what was crazy is that when I say all, I mean they had Sanders falling to 19. That's going to be really interesting how that plays out. I will ask you that question. If Sanders is sitting there at 21 tonight, would you have made that pick?
It would have been a great discussion.
Just because, I mean, I don't know if I'd have made that pick, but my question is, would the Steelers have made that pick? And I would think that they might have done that. But this was a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. Make sure you're checking out all of our podcasts because we're going to be doing all kinds of coverage leading up to the draft. Looking forward to being live here draft night when we're doing stuff like we did last year where we were live. We'll give everyone the disclaimer again. We don't wait. We don't wait for it to show up on TV. When we get the news of a pick, we say it. So if you want your picks early, listen. If you don't want to be spoiled by it, then it's not going to be for you. I know a lot of people like that we did that. I can't remember who it was. Maybe you can reach out to me and remind me who it was that said, hey, I was hanging out with friends watching the draft and I kept telling them what the pick was going to be. And they're like, no, you're crazy. Because they were listening to us on the show.
And at some point they're going to be like, you're a genius.
He's right. Yeah, that's just because that's what we did. So a whole lot of fun. Make sure you're checking out the website, SnookerNetwork.com. There will be an article about this, probably not tomorrow, Wednesday. But if not, it'll be, by Thursday. I don't know if I'll get it all written up in time for it to be good to go for tomorrow. So, it kind of depends if we need something as well. So there'll be that. So you'll be able to go in and comment on stuff there. Make sure you check it out. Other articles. And Andrew Wilbar had a mock draft for the Steelers. I think it was up through 3 rounds. I thought it was a little crazy with what he did, but Andrew's always been a little bit crazy. So if you want to check that out, make sure you head to steelcurd.network.com. Whew. Rich, we'll be back for one more show before the draft. That'll be a whole lot of fun. What do you have to say to close us out here tonight?
Phew. I survived another mock draft. Made it through. I'm not even going to go quote another song. I thought about it, but, we'll just, at this point, actually, you know what? I will quote another song from the Disney movie Frozen. I'm just going to let it go. and be thankful that we got through that. This starts to just get me excited for the draft overall. Not that I'm going to be excited about what we did tonight or, like I said, fall in love with any one of those guys because so seldom do we have anything correct. But just the idea of the draft going on when we're sitting around and saying, oh, wow, look, the Steelers are 3 picks away, and look at these 8 different guys they could take, and then seeing what, seeing how it kind of plays out will be a lot of fun, as it has come to be. And you and I are going to come back 1 week from today and get one last wrap-up before the draft happens. And I'm starting to get excited. Can't wait.
You gotta just chill out, man.
Can't wait.